Hey everybody, I'm Graz, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to be looking at the new Goliath set, testing it and reviewing it. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe for more Zero City content, and if you find this video useful, please leave a thumbs up, and as always, any comments and questions you have, leave them below. Without further ado, let's jump in. Okay, so some of the basic things then. Goliath set is obviously a spear set, but with infantry armor, so it's not like Headhunter. I don't think anybody ever really used their martial. I probably won't speak about that very much. The core items can all be got from the railroad station, which is good, so that means it's a very, very cheap, easy to build set, so that's always a positive. In terms of the set abilities, with 2 items, Goliath's attacks deal additional physical damage equal to 10% of Goliath's max health. So the more health this unit has, the more damage it will do. For 4 items, Goliath's attacks deal additional physical damage equal to 20% of Goliath's max health. Goliath's attacks steal 5% of the target's max health for 6 seconds. Stacks up to 4 times. I'll get back to that in just a moment. When a unit on the battlefield dies, Goliath's max health increases by 15% of the dead unit's max health for 10 seconds, stacks up to 4 times. So you have here escalating damage and a survivability mechanic in that if it lives longer than other units, it's going to keep living because it's going to get more max health. Not a lot though, and relatively short periods of time in my opinion. The attacks steal 5% of the target's max health for 6 seconds, stacks up to 4 times. So this is going to be based on the attack speed of the Spike. I think there's a couple that have increased attack speed, so for Goliath you're going to want to use those. For 6 items, Goliath's attacks deal additional physical damage equal to 30% of the Goliath's max health. Goliath's attacks steal 15% of the target's max health for 6 seconds, stacks up to 4 times. When a unit on the battlefield dies, Goliath's max health increases by 30% of the dead unit's max health for 10 seconds, stacks up to 4 times. I wonder what that means for reanimation, because they count as kills, right? So I suppose to make the most of Goliath, you kind of want your units to keep dying, keep being reanimated, and Goliath just gets stronger and stronger, question mark. Once in a while, Goliath causes a kinetic wave in a large radius around the unit. All enemies hit by the wave take physical damage equal to 50% of Goliath's max health. Goliath also steals 20% of max health from all affected enemies for 5 seconds and shocks them for 6 seconds. While shocked, they can't dodge or deliver critical attack. This is the second time I've read through these, and I don't know, I think there could be some positives here, but it depends if your Goliath can outlive what is the current meta in Grim Undertaker, and some people using Caduceus as well, things like that. So yeah, if you can keep this guy alive for long enough, it could actually be very, very strong. I'm going to move on to the testing very shortly. I just wanted to let you know that I do take on board comments and things that are said. My first tests were all done sort of on spreadsheets and things like that, and then last time I did some testing, I did it in the arena, which had some positives and some negatives, and it showed that the Reaper set was very weak generally, but it could have been outclassed because I was using, say, 35 million powers worth of other fighters and then threw in this semi-naked Reaper, so it was very underpowered, underclassed, didn't really have much opportunity to do anything, in all honesty. So what I have done, and this isn't going to be perfect, there's still going to be huge variance and variables involved, but what I've done is, with the exception of this guy who has got some chips on, he's an arachnid, there's the Goliath set, so most of these are going to be without chips. It's got a couple of chips, without multi-purpose weapons, without field kits, without prototypes. They're not particularly strong meta units. All I want to do is, I don't think I have the right bracelet from him anyways, he's a 5 out of 6 set. What I want to do is, and also I don't have any officer things on at the moment. Colossi patrons. Okay, so what the purpose of this is trying to reduce as much variance as possible, keep my power low so that I can fight lower powered opponents. So here I'm 19 million power, and that way, even though Goliath here is, you know, somewhat naked, it doesn't have any chips, doesn't have any prototypes, but he's not going to be outclassed. That's hopefully the idea. He's not going to be outclassed, he's not going to be outgunned, he's not just going to die quickly because he doesn't have any chips or anything like that. He should be of a roughly similar level to the units that we're going to be fighting against. That's the plan, that's the hope. Let's take a look and see what happens. Just before the testing, a quick look at the items that come with the generic set, if you like. So the spike increases its crit, the spike attachment increases the damage done, the armor is for reanimation, the armor attachment is splash damage to enemies upon dying, and the device and the bracelet don't have any ability. Despite dropping my power down to 19 million, the lowest army I can fight against is 27 million power, and that's for 6 fighters. I'm just going to do a mirror match up against myself. I've already played through this once, so I'll show the replay. I'll do 7 battles as usual, record the results, and then we'll look at them afterwards. Okay, just looking through very quickly. If we compare the two, so we've got 5% damage and 11% damage, 21% and 23% of damage taken, and some small healing. The unit on both sides got a reanimation, which is to be expected. Okay, spreadsheet time. Apologies to those who don't enjoy the spreadsheet, but unfortunately it is process over results for me. I'm very data driven, and that's how I do my analysis. I think Zero City is essentially a large database, and it just pulls results from that. So okay, so I did 7 battles against myself. I haven't recorded the length of battle or how many units lived or died as previously. Because it was a mirror battle, it doesn't seem very illustrative of anything. Yeah, like me versus me is just going to be a case of which RNG comes out on top. Doing 7 battles, hopefully that reduces that a little bit, but what we're looking at more is just an indication of how well the unit performs across the test. So we have the Goliath results here, and we can see that the damage ranges from between 12% and 3%, giving us an average of about 7%. I wouldn't immediately be disheartened by that 7% being so low, simply because, as we can see, the Arachnid was doing tons and tons of damage, did 12 million in one battle. So I wouldn't look at that number and just be like, okay, it's no good. Defensively, it took between 45 and 18% of all of the damage taken. If we compare that to Hitman directly below, we can see that that's significantly higher. I think that's for a couple of reasons. One, it will be due to the max health increases it gets, and also it has its reanimation. But that is definitely a marked improvement, I would say. Just go back to the damage real quick. We can see that the Goliath did slightly more damage, generally speaking, than the Hitman, although the Hitman was only a 5 out of 6 set. Remember, also this final battle ended up being a Hitman versus Hitman mirror for the last, I don't know, minute and a half. So Hitman's numbers are drastically inflated. As you can see, this bottom row is very different to the ones above it. So again, that's where variance and RNG comes into play. Looking at the other units, there's no real outliers for me. There's nothing that sticks out. Maybe Phantom. Phantom got a lot of kills because it's got a insta-kill grenade, so it got those kills. The healing done by Goliath will be a combination of max health increases and reanimations. There wasn't a large number of kills by Goliath. It did more kills than Hitman, so maybe that is something or is not something. If we scroll over here, sorry for the blurriness. So here is all those averages put together in the same table. So yeah, so we can see that the Goliath numbers, 7% damage overall, 28% on defense, approximately 4% healing. Sanjuk do a large amount of healing. I think I had Sanjuk set up to be somewhat of a healer, so that's not, you know, and obviously Bloodletter does a bit of healing and the kills there. So on reflection overall, I think that Goliath could be good. What I'm basing that on is it doing more damage generally than Hitman and taking more damage than Hitman. So in terms of that comparison, I think it could be better. I think that the abilities that Goliath has with the damage escalation and the survivability mechanic can be quite good. I think that the generic set items that the Goliath comes with are a very poor choice, honestly. Is Goliath something that I'm going to want to actively pursue and test further and put better items on? I don't think so. But I do think that if somebody was new and moving up to CC 11, maybe Goliath would be a better choice than Hitman, maybe even Tomahawk. I don't know. I never did any testing on Tomahawk, so I don't know. But Goliath could very well be like a best of the rest candidate. You know, Grim Undertaker and Caduceus both require significant tunnel grinding, and they are much better units because of it. But Goliath might be a unit that you can save up your batteries at CC 9, CC 10, and when you get to CC 11 you might be able to build a very nice cheap Goliath early on, and it be a pretty strong and decent damage dealer unit as your primary infantry unit, or a secondary infantry unit, maybe with Hitman if you want, I don't know, or perhaps with Tomahawk. So yeah, interesting results. I think I'm quite surprised. Just before we end the video, I think it's really important to give some options for best items available for the set. I do think that the testing was maybe not hampered, but the results were significantly lower because of the choice of generic items you get with the set. So for example, I think there's a couple of spikes already mentioned that having a base attack speed of the spike is increased. I think it's really important because you want that lifesteal ability that Goliath has. So anything with the increased speed is probably going to be better than something that has like a much higher attack damage, for example. I don't think that Goliath is ever going to be your primary damage dealer. You know, I think it is a solid unit in terms of taking damage and giving damage, so you just want to kind of increase its survivability by the lifesteal ability, if that makes sense. In terms of spike attachment, I think the splash damage attachments are the best ones. For the armor attachment, for infantry, almost always increasing own health is what you want. For the armor and the device, there's going to be lots and lots available. I'm not going to go through all of them, but anything that increases survivability, so increased health, increased max health, increased defense, these sorts of things, there's lots of them available now, so prioritize those. For the bracelet, I would recommend the one that I already have on my, or it's in my Headhunter set. Once in a while the unit makes 2 fast attacks, stunning the target for 1.5 seconds. If the target of the attack has less than 50% health less, they make 3 fast attacks that deal pure damage and stun the target for 3 seconds. So again, you're going to get that lifesteal ability, and you're going to stun the enemy anyway. So I think that's pretty good. I think that's a good choice. That's why I had it on my Headhunter, for the same reason. In terms of field kits and multi-purpose weapons, again, you know, it really depends what you've got in your collection. That's going to do it for this video. I hope you found it useful. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you did find it useful, leave a thumbs up, and if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I try to answer all comments and questions when I can. So yeah, if you are making any purchases in game, also please check the My.Games market. Sometimes prices will be cheaper on My.Games market. It depends which device and which region you're in. And if you can use my code GRAZ23, that will support me as a creator as well. You can purchase anonymously. I don't need to know who you are or how much you're spending. And if you support me, thank you very much in advance. Okay guys, thanks very much. Catch you in the game. Bye bye.